I caught her lying, but it wasn't the lie that broke me. It was the way she smiled while doing it. Like I was too dense to know better. Like she'd already decided I'd forgive her before I even found out what for. It doesn't mean anything, she said. I love you. The words hung in the air like the smell of burnt toast. Something's clearly wrong, and pretending otherwise doesn't fix it. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just left the room and started planning. Let's start over. Lena and I had been married just over 5 years. No kids, which felt like a conscious choice until recently. Now I wonder if she just never planned on sticking around long enough. She always said I worked too much, which sure, I run my own accounting firm. Long hours come with the territory. But that work paid for her art studio, her wine nights, her expensive candles that smell like moods. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid. She'd go out more often, meeting clients, she'd say, or just grabbing a drink with Jenna. But Jenna never liked drink. That was the first red flag I logged. Second, the gym. She joined a new one across town. Said it was boutique style, smaller classes, more holistic. I didn't question it. I was just glad she found something she liked. But then she started wearing makeup to her workouts. Not a light dab of concealer. Full face. Lashes, liner, lipstick. Who's she trying to impress? I wondered. Her trainer. Don't be insecure, she said one morning when I asked. Some women just want to feel pretty while sweating. Sure. But who curls their lashes for a cardio class? Then there was her phone. It used to live on the coffee table, upside down, untouched for hours. Now, it followed her like a shadow. Always in her pocket, or flipped face down with that sly swipe whenever a message came through. I noticed she started turning off notifications altogether. And when I casually mentioned how quiet her phone had been lately, she answered too fast. I muted some group chats. Jenna's been sending memes nonstop. Right. Jenna. So I started paying closer attention. Not stalking, just observing. Patterns, behavior, little slip-ups. One evening, she came home late. Said she'd been with a client who overshared a little too much. She plopped her bag on the floor, kicked off her shoes, and smiled. That same smile I used to see when she was hiding birthday gifts. That half-smirk of a secret she wasn't planning on sharing. Long day? I asked, keeping it light. You have no idea, she said, reaching for a drink. But hey, I got a sushi. Your favorite. From Gyros. I asked. Yep, she said, sipping. Funny, I said. Gyros is closed Mondays. She froze mid-sip. There it was. The tell. She recovered quickly, laughing. Oh, did I say Gyros? I meant that other place. God, I'm fried. Sure, I said, pretending to accept it. But I made a mental note. Gyros, closed Mondays, lie about sushi. I didn't bring it up again that night. But I started making a list. I still wasn't sure. Could have been a phase. Could have been stress. Could have been that I was working too much, not present enough, too focused on growing my business and not enough on growing us. That's what she'd always say. Still, the fog was thickening. 2 weeks later, a name slipped out. Mason. Who's Mason? I asked over breakfast. She looked up from her phone, startled. Mason? Oh, he's just a trainer at the gym. You talk about him a lot lately. Do I? She asked, blinking. I guess he just pushes us pretty hard. Bootcamp classes. You know. I didn't know. But I nodded anyway. Later that day, I found one of her notebooks on the kitchen table. She always carried it around, a spiral-bound sketchbook/diary hybrid she used for ideas. I didn't open it on purpose. Not at first. I was moving it out of the way so I could set down my laptop, and it flipped open. There was a single line, written in pencil. If I tell him, he'll hate me. If I don't, he'll hate me more. That was the moment I knew something was broken. Maybe not beyond repair, not yet. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. Tuesdays have a funny way of hosting disasters. I'd taken the afternoon off, rare for me, but it happens, and decided to surprise her with lunch. I stopped by her favorite bakery, grabbed 2 sandwiches, some lemon bars, and even remembered the weird brand of sparkling water she liked that I could never pronounce. Her car was in the driveway. The house looked calm. Music drifted from the open upstairs window. Something mellow, jazzy, the kind of stuff she only played when she was deep in thought. I stepped inside, careful not to drop anything. Lena, I called out. No answer. The music got louder as I walked up the stairs. At the top, her office door was half closed. I approached, ready to knock, but I froze. I didn't hear typing. No mouse clicks. No phone call with a client. Just Laughter. Low, soft laughter. I knocked. The laughter cut off like someone hit mute. A second later, the door creaked open. There she was, eyes a little too wide, cheeks a little too flushed. "Hey," she said, sounding breathless. "What are you doing home?" "I thought I'd surprise you," I said, holding up the bakery bag. "Brought your favorite." She stepped into the hall, pulling the door nearly shut behind her. "That's sweet, but I'm actually on a really tight deadline. Can we do this later?" I blinked. "You don't want lunch?" "I just ate," she said, too fast. "Sorry. That was so sweet of you, though." From inside the room, I heard something fall, like a shoe hitting the floor. Her head snapped toward the noise, then back to me. "Deadline," she said again, her smile a bit too bright. "I really have to focus." "Of course," I said, stepping back. "I'll leave this downstairs." And I did. I left the food on the kitchen counter, walked to the garage, sat in the car, didn't start it, just stared at the steering wheel. A few minutes later, a man walked out the side gate. Tall, athletic, tank top, gym bag slung over one shoulder. He didn't see me, but I saw him. He jogged down the sidewalk, earbuds in, as casual as if he belonged. He didn't look back. I didn't move. When I finally came back inside, Lena was in the kitchen, hair tied up. "Come again." "Sorry I snapped earlier," she said. "I'm just slammed." "Everything okay?" I stared at her for a moment. "Yeah, everything's fine." Because in that moment, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know who the guy was, not officially. But a few days later, I did. She left her phone on the nightstand while she showered. I wasn't proud of what I did next, but I tapped in the code, her birthday, and opened her messages. There it was. Mason, a trainer from her gym. Funny thing is, their messages weren't even that explicit. But they didn't need to be. It was the tone. A picture of coffee on a table. His mug next to hers. Caption, "The size of the coffee is also important." A smiley face from her. Another message from him. "That move you did today. Impressive." She replied with a gif. Something flirty. I felt my jaw tighten. I closed the phone and left the room. Didn't say anything that night. She kissed me goodnight, as usual. By the next morning, I'd made a decision. No more guesswork. No more catching moments out of the corner of my eye like shadows at dusk. I wanted the truth, not just pieces. The whole ugly shape of it. But I wasn't going to shout or accuse. That's what she expected. That's what people like her prepare for: emotional outbursts, messy scenes, and begging for honesty. I was going to give her none of that. I learned a long time ago, in business and in life, if someone thinks they're winning, they get sloppy. So I went calm. Cold, almost. Over the next week, I became the world's most agreeable husband. I complimented her new dresses. I encouraged her late work calls. I offered to make dinner so she could unwind after yoga. She looked confused at first, even suspicious. But then, and this part always sticks with me, she relaxed. Like the guilt evaporated. Like my silence was some kind of absolution. That Saturday, I made reservations at a bistro she used to love. A quiet place with soft lighting and no menu. The chef cooked whatever was fresh that day. I told her it was a date night. She lit up like the power had been turned back on. "This is nice," she said across the candlelight. "We haven't done this in forever." I nodded. "You've been busy." "I get it." She sipped her wine, then smiled. "You're really okay, huh?" I tilted my head. "Why wouldn't I be?" She blinked. "No reason. Just, you've been really mellow lately. Thought maybe something was bothering you." I leaned back in my chair, let the silence fill the space for a beat. Then I smiled. "Nope," I said. "Nothing's bothering me at all." We talked about movies. About my work. She told me about some new campaign she was helping with. Something about a sustainable brand launch. She used phrases like market alignment and emotional resonance. I nodded along, pretending to care. The whole time, my mind was on a flash drive in my coat pocket. One eye loaded with screenshots from her messages with Mason. Hotel check-ins. Gym logs I'd quietly requested under the guise of a joint membership audit. Even a location tag she forgot to disable that pinged from an Airbnb 2 towns over during one of her weekend seminars. I didn't need a private investigator. I just needed her not to know I'd already figured her out. After dinner, she reached for my hand. "I know I've been distant," she said softly. "Work's been overwhelming, and I haven't been great about balance. I just want us to feel connected again." I nodded slowly. "I want that too." And I meant it, just not in the way she thought. Because I was done playing her husband. I was about to become her wake-up call. The following morning, I sent Mason a message. Not from my number, of course. Burner phone. Generic name. Untraceable. The message was simple. Just a heads up. She's been talking. Might be smart to cool off for a bit. He's not as oblivious as you think. That was it. No threats. No name. Just pressure, enough to rattle the foundation a little. And sure enough, by Thursday, Lena seemed off. Distracted. Glancing at her phone with growing frequency. Her cheerful morning routine turned hollow. She stopped humming while brushing her hair. Her smiles became tight, forced, like she was holding a secret that started rotting in her hand. Then came the misstep. She came into my home office that night, soft socks on hardwood floor. The picture of innocence. Hey, she said casually, have you ever heard of a number with just 6 digits? Like someone texting anonymously? I didn't even turn from my screen. Nope, I said. Probably spam. She hesitated. Yeah, that's what I figured. Just seemed weird. I nodded. People have a lot of time to be weird these days. She lingered a second longer, watching me. I kept typing. She eventually walked out, silence trailing behind her like a scent. That was the moment she knew something had shifted. And that meant it was time for step 2. I went to see Mark the next day. Old friend. Now a lawyer. He raised an eyebrow when I walked in with a leather folder and a smile. Should I be worried? He asked, motioning to the seat across his desk. Only if you're Team Lena, I said. He laughed, but when he saw the folder contents, his face sobered quickly. Wow, he muttered, flipping through the screenshots, the timestamps, the receipts. You've got enough here to sink her in a divorce. I'm not divorcing her yet, I said. He looked up. Then what are you doing? Setting the stage, I replied. Mark leaned back, thoughtful. You always were methodical. Creepy, honestly, but effective. I laid it out, everything I'd planned. My aim wasn't to make a scene. I wasn't going to be the man who screamed in a restaurant or threw clothes on the lawn. I wanted her to ask for the exit and know the terms came from me. He drew up a post-nup that afternoon. Razor sharp. Favorable to me in every way. If she walked with nothing. If she broke the agreement again, she understood what that meant for support. She said she wanted freedom, and I respected that, but choices have outcomes. When I brought it home, I didn't frame it as punishment. Just reality. Just paperwork. Just in case, I said, handing it to her in the kitchen while the kettle hissed. She looked at it like it was a dead bird. What is this? Protection, I said. For both of us. She didn't open it. Didn't sleep much that night either. The walls were closing in. I could feel it. And I wasn't finished yet. 3 days after the post-nup hit the kitchen table like a polite ultimatum, Lena hadn't signed it. She hadn't brought it up either. And that silence? That was her real answer. So, I stopped waiting. That Monday, I made my own set of changes, nothing loud. No fireworks. Just quiet, surgical shifts. First, I removed her from our joint savings account. It wasn't sudden. I had a backup checking account under my business's umbrella. Transferred every dollar. Left her enough to notice, but not enough to feel secure. Second, I called the property manager. Had the house's deed, which I owned outright thanks to an inheritance, revised with a formal notification. Not an eviction. Just a notice that if she left, she couldn't return without written consent. And third, I adjusted our shared calendar. Subtly. Just enough to confuse her. Dinner dates shifted. Appointments vanished. She started double-booking herself. Missing small things. And every time she apologized, I smiled and told her, it's okay, you've been busy lately. By the end of that week, she was spinning. Her control slipping. Her routines fraying at the edges. Then came the call. An unknown number rang my phone Friday morning. I answered on speaker while reviewing some client portfolios. Hey, this is Mason. I froze. Sorry, he continued. I don't want trouble, man. I didn't even know she was married until way too late. She said you guys were complicated. I'm backing off. Appreciated, I said, my tone flat. She's texting a lot, he added. Thought maybe you should know. I nodded. Thanks. Good luck. I hung up. Didn't even feel anger. Just validation. Like solving a puzzle you already knew the answer to. That night, I came home early. Lena was on the couch, TV on but not watching. The post-nup sat untouched on the coffee table like a ghost she couldn't acknowledge. Hey, she said, voice too casual. Can we talk? I shrugged off my coat. Sure. She hesitated. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About what we need. I waited. I know I haven't been present. And maybe I've pulled away. But it's not because I don't love you. Still reading from the cliché script. It's just, I need to feel something new sometimes. Life gets repetitive. You work so much. I just felt invisible. I nodded slowly. So, Mason made you feel visible? Her face paled. How did you? I didn't need a PI, I said. You're just not that subtle. I didn't, she started. Save it, I said calmly. I'm not here for apologies. She went quiet. Then, it didn't mean anything. I love you. There it was. Like she was saying sorry for dropping a plate. Not for stepping out on the life the man created for her. I stood, walked to the door, grabbed my keys. Where are you going? She asked. To meet someone, I said. For coffee. Who? She stood up like she had the right to ask. Like she forgot the game she started. I turned back. You'll see. And then I left. The cafe was quiet. Tucked into the corner of a bookstore, the kind of place Lena never liked. Too old school. Too analog. But that's exactly why I chose it. I walked in, nodded to the barista, and spotted her in the back booth. Samantha. My former colleague, marketing analyst, sharp as glass, and someone Lena had always written off as boring. She looked up from her tea and smiled. You're right on time. Always, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. Still pretending this is a friendly catch-up, she asked. No pretending. Just layers, I replied. Samantha sipped. So she still doesn't know? Nope. And she's going to hate that it was you. She chuckled. She hated me for no reason. No, I corrected. She hated you because you saw through her. The truth was, Samantha and I had kept in touch for years. Never anything romantic. Just mutual respect, quick check-ins, the occasional lunch when our schedules aligned. But after everything started unraveling at home, I reached out, not for comfort, but for clarity. She'd helped me put together some of the timelines. Her background in data meant she noticed things even I missed. Flights, reservations, digital traces Lena left behind like breadcrumbs she assumed no one would follow. You still going through with it? Samantha asked now. Oh, I'm already in motion, I said. She just hasn't realized it yet. When I got back home that night, Lena was pacing in the kitchen. Who were you with? She asked. Does it matter? I said, dropping my keys into the bowl. Yes, she snapped. It does. Funny, I said. Didn't seem to matter when it was your turn. She clenched her jaw. You're trying to punish me. I'm not trying, I said. I'm succeeding. She sat down, visibly rattled. I don't even know what you want anymore, she whispered. I walked over and placed a fresh copy of the Post-Nup in front of her. You've got 72 hours, I said. After that, I'll take the next step on my own. What does that mean? She asked, voice barely audible. It means I stop protecting your image, I said. I stop covering for you. And I stopped playing the husband you threw away when you thought no one was watching. She looked down at the document, then up at me. I never thought you'd do this, she said. Then you never knew me, I replied. She didn't sleep that night. I heard her pacing. I heard her crying. But I didn't go to her. She made her choice. Now it was my turn. She woke up early the next morning, earlier than usual. For a brief second, I thought maybe she'd done the smart thing and left before I had to say it out loud. But then I smelled pancakes. I walked into the kitchen and found her in that old apron, the blue one she hadn't worn since the early days. Sleeves rolled, hair tied back, the same way she used to when we were still building this life together. Even the music was familiar, not her trendy ambient stuff, but one of my old jazz playlists. The table was set. 2 plates, eggs, toast, fresh squeezed juice. She'd even folded the napkins. She looked up, smiled like a politician. Thought you might like this. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Looks familiar. She gestured to the seat. I wanted to go back to something good. Something that felt like us. I didn't move. Trying to make peace? I'm trying to remind you that I'm still me, she said, voice quieter now. That we had good years. That we can find our way back. I walked slowly to the table. Didn't sit. Just stood over it, looking down at what she'd laid out like a memory she was trying to stage. That version of you hasn't lived in this house for a long time. Her smile faltered. I know I hurt you, she whispered. I said nothing. I didn't expect to lose everything, she added. No, you didn't expect consequences. She looked down at her hands, tracing the napkin fold with her thumb. I love you, she said. That hasn't changed. I finally sat, not to eat, but to speak clearly, calmly. Lena, you lived 2 lives, one with me, and one I wasn't supposed to see. You didn't just mess up, you rehearsed it. It wasn't real, she mumbled. But our marriage was. She blinked rapidly, holding back tears. I don't want this to end. I nodded slowly. It already has. I stood and pulled the post-nup from the drawer. You signed this. So I'm giving you 72 hours to pack your things. Her head snapped up. What? You wanted freedom, I said. You're getting it. But you don't get to stay in my house while you sort out who you are. You're kicking me out? She asked. I'm reintroducing reality. You can stay with Mason. Or your sister. Or a hotel. Doesn't matter to me. She stood, fist clenched. This is still my life. No, I said evenly. It was. You forfeited it the moment you turned our marriage into a side project. I didn't think you'd go through with this, she said, voice cracking. No. You thought I'd forgive and forget. That I'd shrink to fit whatever version of me you needed. She took a shaky breath. I don't want to lose you. You already did. And I walked out of the kitchen. That night, I emailed my lawyer. Subject: Initiate divorce proceedings. Lena didn't speak another word that day. And for the first time in months, I slept through the night. 72 hours passed like thunder rolling over flat land, slow at first, but unmistakably final. The first day, she walked around the house in a daze. Not speaking, not packing, just drifting. Her phone stayed face down, untouched, like it might burn her if she looked at it. She didn't ask me anything, didn't even try to argue. The second day, she started with the boxes. Just two at first. From the guest room closet. Then a suitcase. No words. No conversation. She didn't ask for help. I didn't offer. That night, she left a note on the hallway table. Folded. My name written neatly on the outside. I didn't open it. The third day, she woke up early again. But no pancakes this time. No music. Just the sound of zippers and cardboard, drawers sliding open, closet doors creaking. She moved with robotic efficiency, probably thinking that if she stayed quiet enough, moved gently enough, this would all feel less real. Around noon, she appeared in the doorway of my study, suitcase in hand. I'm going, she said. Her voice didn't shake. It was hollow. You'll get the forwarding address through my attorney. I stood, nodded once. Good. She hesitated. Is that it? After everything? That's more than you gave me. Her shoulders sank. I was selfish. I know that now. I crossed the room slowly. Looked her in the eye one last time. You didn't just broke my trust, Lena. You disrespected me. You played me. You looked me in the face and told me I was imagining things while you were sneaking around with someone who wouldn't even claim you publicly. You don't get a goodbye after that. You get consequences. She stared at me like she'd been slapped. For the first time in weeks, she didn't have anything to say. She turned and walked out. The sound of the front door closing behind her echoed through the house like a bell marking the end of something that had already died. I stood in the silence for a long time. And then I called Mark, my lawyer. Send the filing, I said. She's gone. That week, everything moved fast. Faster than I expected. I filed a lawsuit against my spouse for wrongful conduct. These are words that should not be uttered in court if you have no evidence. I had evidence. I had receipts, logs, messages. Mason's name attached to a dozen of them. And I had the signed post-nup with ironclad language Lena probably never read in full. Her lawyer called mine 3 days later. She's overwhelmed, Mark told me over the phone. They're trying to negotiate, soften terms. She's not in a position to negotiate, I said. We're not playing. We're finalizing facts. Mark chuckled. You want to make her sweat? Or just finish the job? I thought about it for a second. Both. The trial was exactly what I expected, long, uncomfortable, and packed with the kind of truths no one wants to say out loud in front of strangers. Lena cried on the stand. More than once. She told the judge she never stopped loving me. That she made mistakes. That she was lost, confused, overwhelmed by pressure and expectations. Her attorney tried to shift the blame, painted a picture of a cold, absent husband too busy with work to notice his wife's emotional starvation. Mark, my lawyer, didn't flinch. He didn't need to. We had the paper trail, the messages, the travel records, the post-nup. He handed the judge a printed copy of Lena's text to Mason that read, "He's clueless. He doesn't see a thing. I'm not even trying to hide anymore." That was the moment she stopped crying. The judge ruled in our favor. No spousal support. No shared assets. Lena walked away with only what she packed that day. The paperwork was signed a week later. 5 years wrapped in a manila envelope. I sat alone in my living room afterward. No music, no lights. Just me and the echo of everything we weren't anymore. I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. Just breathing again. Samantha called the next day. I heard, she said. How are you holding up? I'm still vertical, I said, cracking the first real smile I'd had in weeks. Coffee, she offered. That became our thing. Coffee. Then walks. Then lunches. She never pushed. Never asked for more than I could give. But the truth is, she'd been there from the start, not as a rebound, not as a replacement. Just steady. One evening, we were walking through the park, early spring breeze tugging at her scarf. Do you ever think we might have found each other too late? She asked. I stopped. Looked at her. No, I said. I think I just had to get lost enough to recognize the right direction. She smiled, gently. And you're sure you're not just looking for comfort? I reached out, took her hand. Steady. Certain. I've had comfort before. This time, I'm choosing clarity. And for the first time in a long, long while, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. It's strange how quiet life becomes when the noise is gone. Not silence, not the kind that feels hollow, but the kind that feels earned. Clean. Months passed. I changed the locks. Repainted the guest room. Got rid of the last coffee mug she left behind in the cabinet, the one with the chipped rim and the faded quote about adventure. I don't think about her much anymore. Sometimes she drifts across my mind when I pass the bakery she used to like, or when I see a woman in a red coat that reminds me of her favorite one. But it doesn't hurt now. It's just neutral, like a chapter I've read and don't need to reread. The divorce was final. Her last name legally hers again, although, if we're being honest, I don't think she ever wore mine with much pride. Samantha and I? We're not rushing anything. We still meet for coffee, now at her place more often than not. She makes it better than the cafe anyway. We talk about work, about what we've been through, about where we're going, not just as two people in a maybe relationship, but as two people who learned how to survive being underestimated. She once told me, "You don't seem angry anymore." I shrugged. Anger's heavy. I'd rather carry peace. And it's true. I'm not bitter. I'm not scanning old texts for hidden meanings or checking phone records for closure. I got my closure when she walked out with that suitcase and realized she wasn't coming back.